Imagine waking up in a world where every sound could mean death. The growl in the distance isn't just an animal, it's a warning. The wind slicing through the tall grass carries the scent of predators. There are no cities, no houses, no comfort, only the raw struggle to stay alive. 1,000,000 years ago, Earth was wild and unforgiving. Vast plains stretched across Africa, burned by the sun and ruled by beasts that could tear a human apart in seconds. And yet, somehow, small bands of early humans walked among them. Fragile, slow, and weaponless, they were not supposed to survive. But they did, because while nature built stronger creatures, humanity built something else: the power to think, to plan, to adapt. Every sunrise was a battle, every night a miracle. And through it all, these prehistoric wanderers learned to bend the world just enough to keep breathing. They found ways to hunt without claws, to hide without dens, and to live without mercy from the land. In their eyes flickered something no predator could match: a spark of awareness, a spark that would one day shape the future of the world. Their secret wasn't strength or even speed. It was something deeper, something far more human. Long before language or cities, fire was the first miracle humanity ever claimed. At first, it was something to fear. Flashes of light tearing through the night sky, burning forest to ash. But somewhere in the chaos, our ancestors saw potential. When lightning struck the earth and set the grass ablaze, they didn't just run, they watched, they learned. Imagine the moment one of them dared to step closer. Smoke filled the air, heat stung their skin, but within the flicker of those flames was power. They carried smoldering branches back to their caves, shielding them from the wind, guarding them like treasure. For the first time, the darkness had an enemy. Fire changed everything. It turned cold nights into warmth. It made raw meat safe to eat. It scared away predators that once hunted them in the dark. And around that glow, something else was born: community. Families began to gather around the flame, sharing food, stories, and safety. The light became a signal, a place to return to, a place that said, "We belong here." But with fire came another spark, not just for warmth or safety. For the first time, the human mind began to wonder what else could be tamed. Fire didn't just warm their hands, it warmed their hearts. Around those early flames, strangers became families. Hunters returned with meat, mothers guarded the young, and the elderly shared memories that became the first stories. Survival was no longer a lonely fight, it became a shared mission. Out on the open plains, a single human stood little chance against a lion or a storm. But together, they became something unstoppable. They learned to coordinate hunts, to watch each other's backs, to build shelters from branches and hides. The strongest no longer survived alone, the smartest groups did. This was the birth of empathy. When one member was injured, others brought food. When danger came, they warned each other with calls and gestures. Slowly, these gestures became sounds, the first seeds of language. And with every shared word, the bond between them grew stronger. Community gave humanity an edge that no tooth or claw could match. It was trust that allowed them to build fires bigger, hunt smarter, and travel farther. The same instinct that made them huddle together in fear would one day make them build cities, kingdoms, and civilizations. But their growing intelligence demanded new tools. And with that, humanity was about to take another leap forward. The spark of cooperation soon lit another fire: invention. Once humans learned they could rely on each other, they began to rely on their minds even more. Every problem was a challenge to solve, and the answer often began with a stone. Picture an early ancestor kneeling beside a riverbank. In one hand, a smooth pebble. In the other, a larger rock. A single strike, crack, and a sliver of sharp stone flies off. In that moment, without words or science, humanity creates its first tool. That edge isn't just sharper than a claw, it's the start of control. These were the Oldowan and Acheulean tools, simple but world-changing. With them, early humans could butcher animals faster, scrape hides for clothing, and shape branches into spears. What used to take hours of clawing and tearing could now be done in minutes. Every chipped edge was a lesson in precision, passed down through countless hands. Innovation became survival. The best toolmakers were the ones who fed their tribes. They learned to test different stones, flint for cutting, obsidian for slicing, basalt for strength. They even began to understand patterns, how a certain angle produced the sharpest blade, how a repeated motion created uniform edges. But tools did more than keep them alive. They changed how they thought. Each strike demanded focus, memory, and imagination. They had to picture the result before it existed. That mental leap, the ability to see the future, was something no other animal possessed. Children learned by watching, copying, and improving. For the first time, ideas could outlive their creators. Knowledge wasn't just in blood, it was in teaching, in memory, in legacy. Humans had learned to shape stone. Soon, they would learn to shape the world itself. For all their progress, nature still ruled with an iron hand. Ice, fire, and famine came without warning, wiping out entire groups that had once thrived. The earth was shifting beneath their feet, plunging from blazing heat to deadly cold. Great droughts turned rivers into cracked dust. Then, centuries later, ice swallowed the lands they once called home. These early humans weren't built for comfort, they were built for endurance. When the rain stopped, they followed the herds. When the frost came, they learned to wrap themselves in animal hides, layering fur and leather to trap warmth. They built shelters from mammoth bones, stones, and branches, anything that could block the wind's bite. Every generation faced a new test. Some nights, entire tribes vanished, buried under snow or swept away by floods. Yet those who survived didn't do so by chance. They adapted. They learned to track migration routes, to store food, to make fire in the coldest storms. They turned disaster into knowledge. And it wasn't just the land that tested them, it was time itself. The world's climate shifted again and again, forcing humans to keep moving, to keep learning, to keep evolving. Each hardship carved their instincts sharper, their minds keener. The earth was trying to erase them, but every catastrophe made them stronger. From the ashes of storms and ice, a new drive was born. The need to explore, to leave behind what no longer sustained them. That restless urge, that hunger to move forward, became humanity's defining trait. It began as a quiet march, not a single migration, but countless footsteps echoing across centuries. Our ancestors didn't know they were exploring the planet. They were simply searching for food, warmth, and safety. Yet, without realizing it, they were about to paint humanity across the face of the earth. From the cradle of Africa, small bands of early humans began to drift north, following the rivers and herds that sustained them. Each step carried them into unknown lands, scorching deserts, frozen tundras, and endless forests filled with creatures they'd never seen. They crossed lands where saber-toothed cats prowled, and ice sheets glittered like walls of glass. Still, they pressed forward. As they traveled, nature reshaped them. The blazing sun of Africa darkened their skin, protecting it from heat and light. In colder regions, generations born beneath grey skies grew lighter, better suited to capture every trace of sunlight. Their bodies adapted, their diets changed, their tools evolved. This wasn't just migration, it was transformation written in flesh and bone. In Europe, Neanderthals learned to endure freezing winters, carving tools so sharp they could skin a mammoth in minutes. In Asia, Denisovans thrived in high mountain air, their lungs and blood built for thin oxygen. And somewhere in East Africa, a new species quietly emerged. Homo sapiens, the thinker, the dreamer, the survivor. By 60,000 years ago, these humans began their great exodus. They moved through the Middle East, into Asia, across frozen land bridges into the Americas. They followed coastlines, rivers, and stars. Every step carried stories of loss, courage, and the instinct to keep going no matter what the world threw at them. They didn't conquer the planet with strength. They conquered it with memory, the knowledge of fire, tools, and teamwork carried in their minds. Wherever they went, they left traces. Ashes of campfires, carvings on bone, handprints deep within caves, symbols that whispered to the future. We walked here, we endured, and as they spread, so did something far greater: imagination. The same spark that once lit a fire now burned in their minds. They began to believe they could shape their world, not just survive in it. That belief became the seed of everything we are today. The wanderers of the plains had become architects of destiny. Every breath we take is a whisper from the past, a reminder of those who refuse to vanish. From the first spark of fire to the first step beyond Africa, the story of humanity is not one of comfort, but of resilience. We are the descendants of survivors, dreamers who learn to fight the impossible and adapt to everything this planet threw at them. Their world was brutal, yet they found beauty in it. They watched the stars not just with fear, but with wonder. They didn't have maps or compasses, yet something deep inside guided them forward, an unbreakable will to keep going. When the ice closed in, they built shelter. When the food ran out, they invented tools. When death surrounded them, they learned to hope. That instinct, that quiet defiance, still lives in us today. It's in the explorer who sails into the unknown, the scientist who searches for life beyond our world, the parent who sacrifices everything for their child. All of it traces back to a handful of humans standing around a flickering fire, determined to see another sunrise. Their courage carved the path that led to cities, art, and technology. But beneath all the progress, we are still them, driven by the same heartbeat that once echoed across the plains. We still chase warmth, connection, and meaning. We still look to the horizon and wonder what comes next. 1,000,000 years ago, survival was a daily battle. Today, it's a legacy, written in our bones, carried in our DNA, alive in every story we tell. Because humanity was never just about surviving the world. It was about learning to shape it. We are not just the children of evolution. We are the proof that even the smallest spark can outlast the storm.